What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. We haven't actually done a recording in a while. We've done a lot of live streams. We've actually been doing them almost every night, at least I have. Usually get some people with me, but just building watch lists, going over stuff like that. Not really talking about stuff other than the plays for the next day. But due to that, I think we on Sundays, the last couple of Sundays at least, haven't really, we sat there and talked in the live stream, but we haven't. So this is the first one where we're actually going to go back and we're recording, and we're going to talk about the squeeze setup that we built on Thinkorswim, basically using John Carter's squeeze idea, so to speak. Not really an idea, but works really well, and we're going to actually show you a live action, pretty much live action, using Thinkorswim's on-demand feature of Chris, C-R-I-S, which was on Mover on Tuesday and kind of Monday too. Monday was a negative mover and Tuesday was a positive mover, but it's Curus Incorporated. I don't know if that's exactly how you pronounce it, but that's how I'm going to pronounce it. This is Chris. Right now I'm actually looking at Benzinga. This is not the news feed. I'm on the detail screen, but it's got their news feed on it. It's just easier to access all of the news at one time. But this is what we're looking at right here is Sunday, December 6th. So this would have been, last Sunday. This is the week ahead in biotech. It's an article that Benzinga Pro puts out. I think they write it themselves, pretty sure. And they put it out on a weekly basis. It usually comes out Saturday or something. But it basically goes over the biotech, the week in, coming up. So it's a really, really helpful article if you've never looked into it. Gives you all the conferences that are going on, PDUFA dates, IPOs, anything having to do with biotech in the coming up week. The reason I'm highlighting it today for this little broadcast here is just because Chris was pointed out. If you're scrolling down here, this is clinical readouts and presentations, and it tells you the day if they know it. It'll tell you the day. Sometimes it'll even tell you the time that they might be doing a presentation. But yeah, as you can see, we're going down. There's a lot of presentations, a lot of things going on here. But this is Monday now, and you'll see that Chris pops up on Monday. The results from the phase 1 study of CA4948 in patient with relapsed of refractory hematologic myelogenesis. I don't even know how to say all that. I probably said it wrong. But the results from the phase 1 open label dose escalation trial evaluating CA4948 in patients with acute myelogenous leukemia. That's what I know, leukemia. So that's good enough for me. Important news. When I'm looking at this biotech, I've gone over this a long time ago, haven't gone over it in a while, but I'm looking for important news to me: Alzheimer, cancer, AIDS, HIV, COVID, something that is going to move significantly. I'm not looking for the topical cream that, helps with some stupid crap. Okay. Those tend to move still, but just not. So this, if you were looking at the week ahead in biotech, you would have already known Monday, Chris is one to watch, not necessarily one to play. News could be bad, news could be good, but it's a leukemia-based news, and so it's going to be on your watch list. It should be. If anything, if you're looking to play news like that, you're looking a week ahead. Even with the squeeze setups that we're going over now, Spaz and I were talking about it earlier before the stream started, that if you know that there's news coming up and the stock is squeezing into that news, then when the news comes out, you can expect a more significant move off of that news because it was squeezing right beforehand. So that's something to keep in mind. So now you'll see I scrolled up a little bit in the Pro just to show December 7th, the news that came out at about 1:30 p.m. Basically, they updated the preliminary data. I'm not going to read the whole news, but you can choose to do that. Clicking on the article, you can read all that you want to. But it's durable and dose-dependent reductions in tumor burden in patients with relapsed or refractory non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. So this is one that it doesn't tell you right off the bat through the headline, good or bad. You want to watch the market before you really play it, and unless you're really quick at reading this and finding out the data. They usually highlight the data, at least the percentage numbers and stuff like that. They'll highlight it in there, green or red. Green doesn't necessarily mean good though. Could be just like a positive number. Red would be negative numbers, more related to earnings, not necessarily biotech and stuff like that. But apparently this news was bad. I'll show you the chart in a minute. But this news was not taken well. We'll show then same thing at 7 a.m. the next day. You'll see it just right up above it. They released announces positive preliminary data from the ongoing study. So the headline before didn't say positive. Okay, the headline now, same exact headline, but they added positive to it. If we looked at it real quick, I'm just going to scroll and see if I can tell if those numbers are kind of the same. No, the numbers are different. So this is completely different, what they're talking, whatever the news that they're talking about. I did not read the news. That's not the point of this study. I'm not saying whether this news was good or bad. We're not talking about Chris as a company. We're talking about Chris as the ticker on this particular play. So now I'm going to switch to the chart for this. I'm going to reload my video just because I know we've had issues with it. And so this is the chart on, this is the day before that news. So this would be Friday. And then this is Monday when that bad news came out. So this was at 1:30. You can see sharp drop. Just really, really, really bad drop, almost 50% drop, not quite 40% drop, something like that. Gets a really good spike off of it on the bounce. Not a play I would have played. We're playing squeeze plays now. Now you do see right here, we'll zoom in a little bit, but it does bounce here and then kind of consolidates a little bit. You'll see it squeeze and then it comes out of that squeeze to the upside. That's not a squeeze I would have played. Spaz seems to be more into those type of squeezes where it's something that not like this that is a bounce necessarily, but it's a downtrending stock on its lows and just has started to uptrend, and that's the squeeze that he wants to play. That's a decent squeeze that produces this 20 cent gain right there, but it's not a squeeze that I would have played. But you'll see this then consolidates throughout the day and squeezes going into the 4 a.m. time frame. So I've got the on-demand queued up here. I think these watch lists, my watch list columns on the side are going to update with the on-demand. Just looking at the price points on some of these, I don't think so. These price points seem up to date with the current market. But that's, again, not the point. You do want to look, we're going to be looking up here at this area where these little colored charts are, or colored labels, I guess. These are our squeeze levels for different time frames. So while this play is happening, we're going to be looking in this area here. And then we're also going to be looking at the chart itself. I've really, really dumbed down my indicators here. I had a bunch of EMAs and stuff. I do use ATR trailing stop. That's what the dotted dots are, yellow and orange. kind of just gives me a good idea on the trend of the stock at a quick glance. Basically, if it's yellow, trending up. If it's orange dots above the price, it's trending down. And then I've got Bollinger Bands and Keltner channels. Keltner channels are going to be your orange Keltner channels. Bollinger Bands are going to be your gray channel. And then the midline is your the white there. That is the Keltner channel midline. The Bollinger Band midline should be turned off, but they're pretty much going to be about the same. Very, very minimal difference. Below that, you'll see I've got momentum and the ATR. The ATR is the gold line. Momentum's your blue. The price axis on the right side is actually set to the ATR, so it's showing your percentage, average true range, but set to a percentage. With the momentum, you really need to be paying attention to the zero line, whether it's up or down. Why I actually have the up and down arrows on, the alert signals, because basically I can just look at whatever the last arrow was and know if it's trending up or down, or if it's below the zero line. Sometimes it's really close to that zero line, and it's hard to tell whether it's currently below the zero or above the zero. And those arrows really help out with that, just by knowing that it is the last arrow. So you'll see, just for an example here, where it's a red arrow, then 3 green arrows in a row. When it comes back to the zero line here, it never actually crosses below the zero line, or else you would have gotten a red arrow like you do in these instances. So that's the reason I like to turn that signal. And then below that, you've got the actual squeeze indicator. As you can see, it was squeezing into the 7:59 time frame. Didn't really get any 4 a.m. plays. The first play was the 6:12 and 6:13 on TRIS. So not much trading going on. But those actually put it into a mid-compression squeeze, those trades. So just something to keep in mind, that it changed its squeeze compression here. The main thing is, I'm not watching this. I could have been if I'd done my scanners and it had picked up. I don't think I would have added it just based off of the chart. But maybe it's got a good true range on the day before. Had some negative news. Sometimes these stocks with negative news will tend to spike up. TAN-H, as of recent, was a great example. TAN-H just cracked really hard. I think it was an offering. I forget exactly what the reason was, but it cracked really hard. Had you played it right there, it basically filled that entire gap of that crack within a few days. And so it was just a good play. So maybe I would have added it, maybe not. Again, not the point. The point here is that news break. The news comes out at 7 a.m. that we talked about, the positive news. So it had the negative news before. Now it's got some positive news. Obviously has a gap to fill. You don't technically call that a gap because it's not during the pre-market and after-market hours. But for when it cracks like that, it has a gap in the volume profile. We've talked about it before. It's got a gap in the support and resistance. There is literally no resistance there because there wasn't a lot of trading going on. It was just selling. And so the stock will cut through that. If it does spike, it's going to cut right through that like butter, and just break through that with no resistance at all. So anyway, you've got 7 a.m. You've got this news. We're just going to say I'm not watching this stock. Now, when I hit play on this, we're going to see the first trades right at 7 a.m. But we'll just say that you picked it up. You are a news guy. You watch all the news, and you picked it up at 7 or even 7:01. Those are the candles we'll be looking at. Even 7:02. By 7:02, it's almost at like a 20% gain already. So it might have popped up on your scanners. If you're watching Benzinga Pro movers, I actually tend to watch movers more than I watch news now, because if I'm watching movers on the 5-minute, I pretty much will pick up what's what's moving really quickly at 7 a.m. and just be able to go to it. I tend to like to play the squeeze on the pullback of a news play. But had you picked up this, we're going to go ahead and hit play now and just let it start rolling. But had you picked up this, you'll see already it spiked right at 7 a.m. You've actually got an early entry signal that pops up, that little green dot. It's gone away now, but it popped up really quickly there. If you were watching this stock, that would have been a great sign to let's play this stock. But anyway, like I said, 7 a.m. I hadn't picked up on it yet. I hadn't picked up onto it until after the spike. So the squeeze, like I said, on the pullback was my play for this particular stock, but we're going to watch it straight from the news. Just because had you picked up the news or had you seen it on movers, you would have been able to come to the chart, you would have looked at it and seen that it was squeezing right before this. You wouldn't, all these squeezes fired, every single one. If you remember, I told you to look at those colored numbers. We didn't go over them, but they were all squeezing in the lower time frames. You can see it just popped up on the 20-minute that it's now squeezing. That's actually a good sign because that squeeze fires. 15 minutes now squeezing. Good sign because if that squeeze fires, it's going to just go even further up. Just a really good sign there. So had you picked up on it here, I still wouldn't have been playing it. The way I play these spikers, if I'm able to catch it, is off this first candle. All right, so I want it to break 1.8. My entry is at 1.81 on the stock. If I had picked it up here and I'm watching it, that would be my entry, is at 1.81. All right, there we got a big spike. Didn't hit 1.81 though, 1.79. I'm still not in it. It's 1.80. It still didn't hit it. Spiking down. Obviously, you could have gotten a lower price if you wanted to. Okay, it broke 1.81. I am now in this stock. Previous bar high and previous bar low over here is what I'm looking at. That previous bar low is my stop loss. So in this case, 1.58. I'm going to go 1 penny less than that 1.59. That's going to be my stop loss. If you're watching this time and sales down at the bottom, you can get a good idea of whether it hits that stop. I can tell you right now, it's not going to hit that stop. But so right now you're sitting at 1.8. It drops below 1.8. I can already tell you that. I don't know. Yeah, right there, 1.75, 1.69. You might get scared out there. And that's the point of having the stop loss on the previous candle. Your stop loss is based off of the previous bar's low. Okay, now you're onto a new candle. That previous bar low is now 1.66. I'm going to adjust my stop loss to 1.65. All right, and now it's still spiking. I'm not worried about getting out right now. Right now, my bars are all cyan color. That's positive momentum. So I'm not even concerned with getting out of this position at the moment. And remember, 1.8 is my entry. Right now, my stop loss is at 1.65. Not even close. Looking pretty good right now. I mean, really, really solid play at the moment. Now, even if, let's say you're just now catching the news, okay, you can still play it the same way. The top of that bar, okay, 2.19. If you caught it right now, all right, I want my entry to be 220. That's my entry. So that's what you're waiting for on this candle or the next candle. Technically, you can change it each candle, but if this candle doesn't break that 2.19, I don't want to change it down and all of a sudden make my entry lower. You could do that, but I want to see it break. It just set a high, so I want to see it break that before I make an entry. Now, remember, my entry is at 1.8. I caught this right off the bat, and I entered off this first candle, this first high of the day, 1.8. My stop loss right now is at 1.84. So now I've got a stop loss with profit. That's what I really like to see. Puts me in a good mindset. 1.84 is now my stop loss. Not going to hit that. I can tell you that right now. But even if it did, fine. If it stops me out, you know, you win some, you lose some. In this case, you're not losing. You're still not entered in on that 220 position. You're still waiting at this time being. Now you're in on that 220 position. All right, it's now past the 220. Your stop loss on that 220 position would be 196. And your stop loss on my 180 position is also now 196. That's almost this 10% gain on my stop loss. And I'm changing this on the go. You know, I don't have Thinkorswim, the trade platform, set up right now to where I can show you that. But you can change that on the fly through Thinkorswim. If you're going to another platform to do the trading, it might be a little bit difficult. Hopefully you have multi-monitors in that situation, or have a good setup where you can flip back and forth, or trade from your phone. I know a lot of people that like to chart on their PC and then trade from their phone. That works too. So you're in at 220 if you picked up this news late. You're in at 220, your stop loss is 196. I'm in at 180, my stop loss is now 215. All right, you're going to keep raising that stop loss on that next bar. All right, so it's 215 now. Still haven't made a profit on your stop loss with that 220 position, but I am sitting pretty on my 180 position right now. Again, momentum's kind of curling. You can look at this momentum. Don't let it stop you out. You really want to wait for those oscillators, these colored bars, to change. That is a great sign to get out. Now, stocks will crack really quickly, especially these penny stocks. They will crack really quickly, and it might change to blue in a flash. But that's why you've got your stop loss. Okay, so your stop loss is at 215. You could have gotten out on any of these highs, 286. I could see that with a 220 position or a 180 position. I could see you wanting to get out, but why not ride it? So my stop loss is now at 251. All right, on my 220 position, I'm now sitting at a 10% gain off my stop loss. All right, my 250 stop loss on my 180 position. I couldn't be happier, right? But I'm still, I don't even need to look at time and sales right now. I could look at it. I've already looked at all these time and sales, but it's sitting pretty. It's not even close to my stop loss. It's really squeezing well. A squeeze goes 5 to 8 bars, right? Well, it's already past that on the 1 minute. But if you remember, it squeezed on the 15-minute and the 20-minute. Now, I haven't watched all these. I didn't notice it was squeezing earlier. But those squeezes have now fired. All right, so those 15-minute squeezes, I'm not going to hold it for 7 bars into a 15-minute interval. It's a long time on a news spiker. But it just gives you an idea that, hey, this may push. This may push a little bit farther. Our stop loss is now 285, just so if you're not paying attention. 285 is now the stop loss. And we're just going to keep on riding this. This is actually a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful squeeze news play, so to speak. You'll see a lot of news plays. I have looked at some of them. You know, I can't go back and look at everything, but I will say that a news play that wasn't squeezing before the news tends to be a little bit more choppy. A news play that's squeezing before the news, especially one that had bad news gap to fill, which it's already broken that gap. It was sitting in the 2 range yesterday before it cracked. So my stop loss is now 297. All right, so off of your 220 position, it's sitting pretty at 297. Gets pretty close to that. It's sitting at 3 right now. Still hasn't dropped into that stop loss, but should be pretty, ready to sell. Sitting at 297. but my bars are still cyan right here. If I get stopped out, that's fine. That's one thing. But as far as me selling the position, just straight out selling it, nope, not looking to sell it yet. Momentum, you'll notice it did curl down. If you were paying attention there for a minute, curled down when it got down to that 3 range and kind of just sat there in the 3s. Now we're back up to the 330s and just set a new high of the day. So looking good. Stop loss is about to change to 297 still. And again, I could see you totally exiting the position now. I wouldn't blame you. Even on your 220 position, you're sitting way up at 320, 330 area. My 180 position sitting really, really nice. And it's starting to drop here. So I could see you getting out. But that's the reason that we have the indicators and this setup set the way it's supposed to be. You'll also see the trend cycle momentum is all green. It's spiking back up. But you can watch those as well, trend cycle and momentum. That is the stochastic indicator, simple moving average 50, and MACD. So when it's green, those are trending up. When it's red, obviously. Stop loss is now at a 314. So just keep that in mind now. It's climbed up a little bit here. 314 is my stop loss now. Still haven't gotten stopped out on any of those stops. Yeah, we're sitting pretty good here at the moment, I must say. We're just going to keep riding it until either I get stopped out or that oscillator changes to blue. Now, there's two different ones. The chart actually tends to change a little sooner than the oscillator on the Squeeze Pro. Looking at it, sometimes it works out really well. You chart, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes the Squeeze Pro is a little bit more accurate. So you could use other indicators at that point. You'll see the chart just change to blue right here. Now it's going to change back and forth through this candle. My stop is at 3.29 now, by the way. So if you're looking at that time and sale, you might see that it goes to 3.29, but I don't believe it does. I don't think you get stopped out here. So it did go blue, though, on the oscillator on the chart. Squeeze Pro, you'll see down at the bottom, did not go blue. TTM Squeeze is actually available to anybody with Thinkorswim, by the way. Squeeze Pro is a paid study. Just keep that in mind. So you might not see the exact same thing if you're using the TTM Squeeze. You can make adjustments. I leave that up to you as far as figuring it out and whether it's available on the internet. But anyway, you'll see the chart is blue. Your stop loss is now 3.39. As it starts to slow down here, you have a good chance of getting stopped out, and it might still. It's not squeezing yet. You can watch the Bollinger Bands. They're not squeezing yet, but if it continues to consolidate here, you might get stopped out and miss the next run up. I'm looking at the time and sales, 3.39. I'm at 3.40, 3.39, and I don't think it stops. There it goes, 3.39. So you would have gotten stopped out right here, 3.39 on that 180 position, or your 220 position, either one. You could have entered using that same mindset if you caught the news at any point here. I probably wouldn't when it's way this high up. See, it's starting to climb again. So like I said, that stop, you could lower your risk if you want to try to ride it. It never really, it's been trending up as far as my concern goes. It never really broke the last candle. You can see on Hike and Icy, the 3.39, they use candlesticks. where I'm using Heiken Icy. So Heiken Icy does not actually show the low as 3.39 right there. It would have showed the low as 3.34, 3.3. So you wouldn't have gotten stopped out on any of those using Heiken Icy if you were using low. This indicator uses candlesticks, I'm pretty sure. You would have gotten stopped out there, though. So you would have gotten stopped out right there at, again, basically the same spot anyway, which is 3.36. You would have ended up getting stopped out as that candle broke the low. If you're using that as your stop, that's your choice, of course. Like I said, these penny stocks can crack really hard, really fast. And sometimes your stop actually gets blown through and it doesn't even fill. It cracks so fast, cracks so hard, your stop loss doesn't even fill. But anyway, so that play right there from 180 to 339, 220 to 339, you could have really entered in on any of these bars, like I said, and made the same move using that same entry exit method. You'll see the Squeeze Pro indicator. Now it went back to light blue, but it went to dark blue there for a second. Now it's back to light blue, so nothing to, if you were not stopped out, if you decided not to use a stop loss and you were still in, you are sitting pretty still. You'll see it then flash to blue, dark blue to light blue, flash to dark blue, light blue. Still no squeezes here on anything. I wouldn't expect a squeeze on any time frame on this. They all fired off. I would say the 1 minute time frame is going to be your first squeeze that comes up on those indicators over there. You'll see it went back to light blue, back to dark blue, back to light blue, back to dark. It flips back and forth. Not a big deal. You could sell at this point. If you were in at 180, you wouldn't at this point. That kind of gain. You're pretty you're pretty solid for the day, depending on your position size, of course. But that's a pretty solid. All right, so that stochastic, it's pretty much stayed dark blue. So at that point is a good exit as well. Is when that stochastic on the Squeeze Pro changes dark blue. So as I said before, touch base on it. When this changed to dark blue, you would have been out pretty early and could have made a little bit more, 360, 350 area, which is where it's at now. So you could have exited a little bit higher if you waited for the Squeeze Pro to change its momentum, basically. We'll call that momentum. It's not really momentum, but that's the idea behind it. So we could, we got a minute, basically. We could talk about more about this price movement. As you see, it's gone up to 370 now. But at this point, I'm out my position using my entries and exits, and that's the point of trading. Do not trade without solid entries and exits. That's the disaster. Recipe for disaster is not having an entry and an exit. And so that's why I wanted to show you that on a news spiker like that. You're afraid of chasing or whatever the case may be. Use your entry and exit plan. Set it up however you want. It doesn't have to be what I just explained, but you need to have an entry and exit plan like that. And you can play any of these. Obviously, the higher it gets, once you get to this point, the 338 area, you still could have made 10% selling it at 370. But you're getting to, you're losing your true range here. I know it shows still 100% true range, your yellow down there, momentum. But that's because of the spike right here. That's over the last 14 periods. So, you know, it's consolidating there. So for you to get in, you know, late like this, you actually wouldn't have gotten in because it would have had to break the high of these candles. So you wouldn't have gotten in until this bar where it went to 70 using that same entry plan that I was talking about. But on any of these other bars, if you just use that high, when it breaks that high, and then use that as an entry point, and then use the same thing, the low, as your stop loss, and just increase that the whole way up, still making a decent gain, even playing it at this late in the day, 710, still making a pretty good gain, going from 307 to 350. You'll see the Bollinger Bands now, and this is what I would play, or on the day of, because I missed the news. I had actually caught the news somewhere around this area here. You'll see the Bollinger Bands, which are the gray bands, and the Keltner channel, orange. We're watching that for a squeeze. So the Bollinger Bands will get closer and closer to the Keltner channels the more this consolidates. And that is what determines your squeeze. And there, your next take, they got a little bit closer. And we're just going to watch those. This is the boring part, Spaz. So if you would like to chime in, feel free.
No, I mean, you've got it covered pretty good. I mean, personally, I wouldn't be playing this necessarily just because I'm looking for that news release entry, like you were covering before. Especially with my style account, I'm not trying to use multiple day trades, or once I get my profits, if I had taken the news play off that squeeze, then I would have watched it throughout the day, but I would have been done after that first spike. As far as the squeeze setups, just like you were saying, now with it consolidating, I do look for a lot of those plays. Typically, I'm not looking for them off the news though. It may be something that had spiked off the volume in general, just a general squeeze. And it has that pullback.
Previous squeeze.
Because I've seen them where it'll squeeze off that unusual volume coming in.
Oh yeah, no news.
And then it'll pull back, and then it'll go again, and there'll be absolutely no news. So when I do catch those, I do tend to watch them as well, just to see if it presents itself for a secondary setup. But of course, you do have to be careful because the squeeze can fire in both short and the long direction. So that's where you have to read your indicators to know which way to go on it. I mean, you could have, just like here on Chris, you could have gotten, if you wanted to short it, go in right there at its high when you get that first dark blue histogram bar. I mean, obviously.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. You can short it right here, you talking about, on the Squeeze Pro histogram? Yeah. Yep,
I mean,
you definitely could have.
I don't
you could have shorted
but...
it when the momentum dropped below zero here. You could have shorted it right here, just because the momentum dropped below zero. We'll see how that would have played out. You're looking at 340 up here, 350, 360 area. So even there.
Again, this is a news play, so I mean, it was good news. In which.
And news plays, exactly. News plays tend to sometimes they'll spike and then they'll just.
You'll get that fade into the open, especially with it's the pre-market play. So I mean, it definitely gives plenty of opportunities for either direction, but
we're going to start watching this now, just because the Bollinger Bands are actually getting close to the Keltner channels. Okay, so this, now we see very close to the Keltner channels. It's going to squeeze soon. So we're watching this momentum down at the bottom. Momentum is below the zero line. The pink line's your zero line. The red arrow actually tells us quickly at a glance it's currently below the zero line. Until we see a green arrow, it is not above the zero line. Not really worried about making any entries right now because it's not squeezing. I only want to play the
Maybe wanting to
squeeze.
cover if you're shorting.
Yeah, at this point, maybe wanting to cover because that momentum switched kind of up. So maybe wanting to cover if you're shorting at this point. Maybe not. I'm not a short professional. I
Either
will
way,
cover
I
a
don't do it.
short at the very end of this. I will talk about a short position briefly. Um, but yeah. So anyway, I'm also looking at the volume. So you'll see the volume spiked really high. Got really high up in here. That's probably more selling or tug of war right there as it spiked to 373. You see those long wicks in that candlestick. Lots of tug of war. And then the volume kind of dropped off a little bit. You'll see now my Squeeze Pro indicator. Now, you wouldn't see this on TTM Squeeze, and that's the point of me showing you these Bollinger Bands and Keltner channels. You see how close it is. It is now under a low compression squeeze. Okay, and that's what the Squeeze Pro is showing me with the black dot. Momentum still below the zero line. At this point, I would actually be preparing to short it with the squeeze below the zero line. News play. Yeah, at this point, this would look like a short play, short position if I was going to take. Now, I'm not going to squeeze. I'm not going to short anything that's off of an uptrend. So that's one thing that I touched base on before that we've talked about, and kind of what Stas was talking about. He wants to play a squeeze maybe that's already happened, so it's uptrending. The stock is currently uptrending, and then it's squeezing again into another uptrend. Generally speaking, the squeeze is going to follow the trend. So that's one thing to keep in mind. All right, so we got two black dots now. Momentum bar, as you can see the little green arrow there, you can barely see it because the zero line and the ATR is so high. But you see the green now above the zero line. So now that short position, I'm no longer thinking about that short position. I'm watching this momentum, I'm watching the squeeze, and I'm watching my volume. Most importantly, as I'm watching, it's only squeeze two dots. We don't want to play that kind of squeeze anyway. We're looking at playing anything from 3 to 10. If I'm not mistaken, this actually squeezes more than 10. But that's the whole point with the Squeeze Pro and TTM Squeeze. I'll kind of make the difference. The red dots you'll actually see on the TTM Squeeze, that's a mid-compression squeeze. So you see the Bollinger Bands actually came inside the Keltner channel for these last two ticks. And that's why it's now under a mid-compression squeeze. You will see that on the free TTM Squeeze version. You'll see that the momentum is now heavily trending down. So again, that short position idea might take form. These candlesticks are actually large enough that you could have gone from 355 to 325. That's almost 10%. So if you're looking at a short scalp, you could have just made it when that momentum shifted up. I wouldn't have played that. That's way too risky. But some people were a lot better than me at shorting or playing just scalping like that. But it showed no reason, inside candles or no other indicators that I could see for a reason to play that. You'll see now we've got 4 squeezes or 4. TTM Squeeze would have shown 3. So now, even on the TTM Squeeze, the free version, you are now considering this a good squeeze for you to be paying attention to. It's in the 3 bar range. So we're still looking at the volume. We're still looking at the momentum. Momentum is way down. Well, not way down, I don't want to say. You can actually see your momentum if you look at the labels here. So whatever bar you're at, you can look at the label. It says negative 0.27. So that's where the momentum is currently at, negative 0.28, 0.75. So you can watch it as the ticks trades play out. Still keeping an eye on it. The volume is actually, in my opinion, averaging down. Even though this one was higher up, I would say overall your volume is just on a downtrend. Looks great for the short position currently. I still would not be playing this. As I said, I would not if this squeezed down, that would have been my miss. And then if it squeezed again after a downtrend, maybe then I'm playing that short squeeze. But right now, I would not be playing this short in any way, shape, or form for my particular setups. I am looking to play this long. I'll tell you that right. So it's an uptrend. Typically speaking, it's a little early for it to really squeeze really well. But, you know, it's still, all I'm looking for, me personally, is 10% gain. If it makes 10%, pretty happy. I take fairly large 10%. Good enough trade. Still watching the momentum. Kind of slowed down here. I don't know what the reason for that is. It stopped trading all of a sudden. Almost looks like it froze up. Thinkorswim here. Yeah, the seconds aren't ticking up top up here.
It looks like
it's pre-buffering. There we go. All right, so it just caught back up. Yeah, it was buffering. The momentum started to squeeze up a little bit, or it started to trend up. Your histogram actually changed to pink. You can't see it on the Squeeze Pro here, but it is. There's a slight pink down there. You can actually hover again over the tick, and you can see the Squeeze Pro label right here actually changes based on the tick, and you'll know the actual number, value, and all that good information. But you can also see the candlesticks here as well have changed to pink color. Momentum, however, is trending up. Again, I'm just watching that volume. Watching the volume. That is the most important indicator on the squeeze. If the volume is not going to pick up, even if it comes out of the squeeze, it's not really going to get much. So it's not really what I'm looking at playing. I'm watching the volume. You can see that this volume is really slowly building. So pretty much nothing to see here. Momentum, however, almost to the zero line. Histogram still, we've got a long squeeze here now, 6 bars on the mid compression. Bollinger Band's actually glitched out here, I noticed it, but if you hover over it, it shows it weird. It'll come back on. Bollinger, like I said, if you hover over it, it fills in. Weird. Again, the volume kind of ticked up a little bit here, but still, I wouldn't say it's averaging down now, so to speak, or going on a downtrend. I would say it's kind of staying the same for the last, 10, 15 bars. About 10 bars, I'd say. Again, just watching that momentum, watching that volume. Each tick, I want to see that volume as it ticks up. You can watch the time and sales too. You can see the share count on the right side as those time and sales come in. But when it's a really good, this is good volume. Don't get me wrong. This is not bad volume that you're seeing. That's 138,000 on that tick, 121,000. This is good volume. So I'm not trying to. That's why I say look at the bar, the actual volume bar. Good reason to put it on your chart too, and not in a subchart. It's easier to watch, in my opinion, on this chart. But when there's that much volume, time and sales is a little tough to watch to really see like the volume pick up. Momentum still below zero. Histogram's actually still trending down quite a bit on the Squeeze Pro down there. Momentum is barely below the zero, negative 0.035. 0.0, 0.05, 0.09, 0.1. starting to move down a little bit or flatten out, I guess. You'll see the Bollinger Band kind of getting closer to the Keltner channel as if it's going to come out of the squeeze, the mid-compression squeeze into a low compression with just a little bit of volume. You could take an entry here on any of these, but I really don't recommend it when the momentum is below the zero line to take an early entry on any of these squeezes. You did see the signal, the down arrow signal. Not really confident in those down arrow signals. I like the early entry signals that come out, but those down arrow signals I don't, not really. Still tinkering with those. Momentum still 0.07 in the negative, but trending up 0.04. Slight volume spike on that over the last two bars. Momentum now breaks the zero line. See your green arrow here. Quick indicator of the momentum breaking it. If you're not paying attention, you got an early entry as well on this green. All right, so this would be a good spot to think about taking an early entry. I'm watching this volume. Look at this volume bar. That volume bar is much higher. Look at this volume bar here. It's going much quicker up. I'm still not playing this, but I'm thinking about it at this point. Another early entry, it keeps on flashing in and out. You'll see the momentum really tick up here. This would be a good time at this point to maybe take your entry. Your histogram changed to yellow as well down below, pink to yellow. You'll see now the volume is really spiking. All right, so I'm going to want to maybe make an entry here or use my setup from before and make an entry on the top of the just like I did before. But if you had made an entry on that original early entry that popped up, it was at 3.39. I didn't call that out, but it was at 3.39. You could play it again anytime here. The previous bar high was 3.65. So if it gets 3.66, you're playing it. It did not hit that. It hit 3.65. So you'd still not be playing it if you were using that same entry method. All right, you're still under a squeeze, right? But 3.65 is what I'm looking at. Momentum actually trended down. Might scare you out of the position here. I'm still looking at my volume bars. I'm still looking at my momentum. Still seeing early indicators, those little green dots that pop up. Nothing stuck as far as at the close of the candle, but they're flashing as the play plays out. Now I got an actual early indicator that's stuck right here. I got a ding on it. Okay, I'm watching my volume. I already broke my 365. Okay, so I made my entry at what is that? At least 366. Yep, because 367 is the high. So technically, if I was using that setup, I would have now made an entry off of this original spike candle.
Another thing to point out too, something that we've covered in the past is inside candles, engulfing candles, is that last pink candle on that 1 minute was also an inside engulfing, or what is it actually considered, a inverse?
Yes, correct. Yep, absolutely.
So that is a good confirmation of that trend shift, especially looking at the volume on that too. So.
Yep. So we got 3 entries in a row. Well, 2 that stuck. 2 early entries in a row. Momentum just trended up. I am still watching this volume bar. If I hadn't taken a position, I technically have already taken a position at 366, or at 339 if you played that original early. But 366 was my entry. My stop, I could be changing it this whole time, but it hasn't come out of that squeeze yet. So my stop is not actually going to be except for the low of this right before the squeeze. which would be whatever the low is on this bar. 335. So 334 is my stop right now on that position that I took. A 30-cent loss, but if I already played this, I made plenty of money here. I'm not worried about that. Again, I'm watching the volume bar. You see this volume bar? It's still, volume is good right now over what it was, trending up. I'm happy with that. My compression just changed to a black from red. All right. Again, TTM squeeze, free version, not going to see that. Technically, your squeeze just fired is what you're going to see on yours. It's going to be a green dot, and you're going to consider your squeeze fired if that sticks still in that bar. So that might change back to red before that candlestick closes. So anyway, we're still looking at this. The stop was at 334, which was the beginning of this squeeze, in my opinion, when it changed from the pink to the yellow and the momentum shifted to the positive. So that's what I'm looking for is my stop. I'm not changing it each candle because it hasn't come out of that squeeze. Could fire down. That's the point of having that stop. I definitely don't want to just be holding and hoping at this point. You could have made it a better entry as well. Any of these it's downtrended. You could have gotten a lower entry than I got on any of these previous candles. You'll see that you've gotten plenty of early entry signs out of the squeeze a little bit. Not impressed with the, sometimes when it goes from mid compression to low compression or even a high compression squeeze to a mid compression. It could actually make a significant move. And when it does that, you can consider getting it. If you want to go long on it and it squeezes from mid to low and it's uptrending hard, yeah, you can go ahead and consider getting it. I have noticed though that sometimes it'll squeeze up during the squeeze and then it'll come out of the squeeze and immediately fire down. Something to keep in mind if it's squeezing on a significant uptrend and it's still showing a squeeze, it could come out of that squeeze and fire down in reverse. So it has not hit my stop of 335. Still watching this volume bar. You'll see this volume bar. Keep on watching that volume bar because if you haven't made an entry now and you're watching, this tick just started and you're watching that volume bar, it is significant. It would be a reason for entry if you were waiting and still waiting at this point. So now the squeeze is fired, squeeze is green. So I'm going to change my stop as we go. Again, just like we did here. I'm still using my 335 stop right now. I have not changed to this. But squeeze is fired, volume significantly up. In fact, it's higher than it was during the initial news spike on any of these candles. The volume is even higher than that. So good sign for a good squeeze here. You can see your oscillator all change. Your 356 if you're using your previous bar low here. If you're using your Heiken Aishi actual candle, it is also 356. That is the same. Not even close to stopping out. And at this point, when the volume drops, not worried about it. Even if the volume drops significantly, you would still just use your same entry exit whatever your particular entry exit. All right, so my stop has changed now to 383 according to the previous bar high and low, and according to Heiken Aishi, it is actually 365. So you can see that there is a difference. So 383 and 365. I would actually be using Heiken Aishi. Glad I've noticed that difference because I like to use these candles. If you haven't listened to me talk about it before, then you haven't been listening to me. But yeah, Heiken Aishi is a much better candlestick for showing trends and showing inside candles and bullish candles. They seem to be a better representation, in my opinion.
I can't even use regular candlesticks or candlestick trend anymore. Ever since
No, neither can I.
started switching.
If I switch
I
to
loaded
it,
up a ticker
or I
earlier and I was like, oh my
download
god, what the hell is
yeah,
this?
download a new platform or something like that, or looking at some other new charting system, can't do it. I cannot do it. So previous bar, you're looking at 392 is now your stop. If you're using that Heiken Aishi, however, you're using a stop of 378. And I have to look into coding that so I can change that. There's got to be a way to make that read the Heiken Aishi high-low. So right now the squeeze, I mean, it's okay. I've already made 10%, so looking good there. In fact, my stop is already at 10%, unless I'm using Heiken. If I'm using the previous, it's already at 10%. And that's, like I said, that's really all you're looking for. Even if you've got a small account, if you can take 10% gains every day and build that account, not necessarily across your entire capital, 10%. I mean, that would be great. But, you know, so here is where you would probably get stopped out. I'm not sure if you're using this previous bar. Your stop is at 399. Don't think it actually hits it. It came dangerously close. It was at 4. But your stop for the Heiken Aishi candle is at 389, 10 cents less. You can see the volume's dropped off quite a bit. But again, you're not worried about that. You need to stick to your game plan. Because if your game plan is watching time and sales and getting scared out of your position, or watching level 2 and getting scared out of your position, I know a lot of people tell you level 2 is the greatest thing in the world, and it is awesome. Level 2 is great. You got to learn level 2, great thing to use. But that's not your exit plan. You don't use level 2 as your entry and exit. It's just a good way of giving you an idea of how things are going to move, especially if it's going to crack hard. Level 2 can give you an idea. But either way, that's not an entry and exit plan. So you need to just stick to your entry and exit plan, and you're not getting scared out of position. Now, if you're in a choppy ass stock, you're going to get stopped out using exit. But you shouldn't be in choppy ass stock, especially if you're playing the squeeze. You don't want to be in a stock that's choppy. This consolidation right here, not choppy. If you've been following the stop loss, you're looking at 402. Following the Heiken Aishi candle, you're looking at 390. We're not close to that stop, so didn't really feel like pointing it out, but you can follow along at home. I did not pay attention. I was not paying attention to these squeeze on the other time frames either, with it squeezing on the 1 minute. I'm sure it was probably squeezing on one of these other time frames, which could give you an idea of how long the squeeze was. Right now, you're sitting at 7 bars. That's why I bring that to your attention. So you're sitting at 7 bars, and that's kind of when squeeze is anticipated to start to die down. You'll see that the candlestick changed to dark blue on this next candlestick. Your stop is at 423, and if you're using Heiken Aishi, your stop is at 406. Candlestick is starting to flash back. Good sign that that's reversing. Flashing again. Now we're on a new candle. Candle started off dark blue. Momentum's still way up. If you're looking at the stop loss, you're looking at 425. Heiken Icy is looking at 417. And in case anybody doesn't know, when you hover over a candle, the way I'm able to tell the Heiken Icy low really quickly, you hover over the candle, it shows it up here. Shows your open, high, low, close. What does R stand for? Range. R is range of the candlestick. Either way, you didn't get stopped out on either of those. You might get stopped out here. You're looking at now 437. Heiken Icy is showing a 425. And you can't, I don't know any broker that can keep track of the candlesticks and change the stop loss for you. So you have to do that manually. Change it as it goes. That's what we should do. We should make a platform designed off of the squeeze, also linked to your broker, that also has our built-in stop loss. They have trailing stop, can do trailing percentage, but it's not the same. Right. So we got a new tick now. Probably got stopped out there. Yeah, you got stopped out at 436. Didn't get stopped out on the Heiken Icy, however. I think you did. You got stopped out on either one at 430. All right, so yeah, Squeeze Pro had changed to dark blue and then light blue. That's kind of where, if you were using that as your indicator to get out as well, you would have lost a little bit of profit, extra profit. Like I said, my exit, I would have gotten stopped out at 430. What was it, 433 or 431, somewhere around there. But not too shabby off of a 339 or 360 position, 366, I said. So still not too shabby of a gain there, using the squeeze indicator off of a uptrending stock. This one uptrending off of news, but still uptrending stock. Use this on any uptrending stock, like Spaz was. It could be uptrending off of a previous squeeze, or uptrending off of earnings, or a dividend announcement, or whatever. You consider those news, but those, generally speaking, insider buying, stuff like that, will make a stock run longer, longer time period. Just news like this. You can expect this stock probably to come back to, I'd say, I don't know, this is a stock that played out Tuesday, but I'd say probably $2.50 to $2 range within the next day or two. That's just on average. I don't even know if the stock did that. I'm not paying attention. I don't remember off the top of my head. No, it didn't, because right now it's sitting at $7.77. So it must have had another couple good days. I just looked at it on Benzinga Pro. I'm like, oh no, it's sitting pretty good right now at this, from this price. I wasn't gonna look at the 5-day chart. Oh yeah, it uptrended all day today. I couldn't remember what it did. Yeah. I don't know if it squeezes again into that next squeeze. Probably does. We'll fast forward to that 840 spike. 840. Yeah. 840 in that area. We'll
Yeah,
take
it
a look at
looks
that.
like about 840.
Now this one's pretty much done. Kind of wanted to show the short. I'm not much of a short, but the next squeeze. I'm gonna fast forward 10 minutes here. Yeah. So this right here. Um, I mean, obviously we can't see it play out live now, past it. But that's where maybe you could short. You've got the down momentum right here with the red arrow, goes into a low compression squeeze. It's only 2 bars, but you could maybe think of shorting it there with it being down on momentum, um, making a few pennies right there. But I've already watched this play out. We're going to fast forward again, and it gets to about $4, I think. We're going to zoom ahead to 840. We'll go to 832. So yeah, it squeezes again here. So you would have, that's kind of an up squeeze. Not really. That's kind of one of those squeezes I was talking about before, where it's uptrending and squeezing. That's not a significant. Um, and then it comes out of the squeeze and goes down. But so you could have possibly shorted it on this squeeze, but I just, you would have gotten down to 4 right here. So you would have made close to 10%. I'm not good at shorting. I don't know if that would be a good position to short at that spot or not. Like I said, I'd be shorting a downtrending stock if I was using the squeeze method to short with. If Aaron was in here, I'm sure he could talk.
Cool, I think I just modified the previous by heart high and low study
Yeah, it's a
for,
Heiken-Ishi. I saw
yeah,
that. Yeah.
I was just basically missing one line. I'm sending it to you right now.
Okay, cool.
Just throw that at the beginning of the script.
So just that.
Basically, you're just
Just that line.
determining what type of uh, chart it's using. By
All right,
default, it
guys,
uses the
you
default.
get to see all my studies over here, man. Like high class information.
You know, I'm not sure if it.
Huh?
I'm not sure if that actually did anything.
Really?
Now I'm thinking about it, because the study is basing off of what our default chart is. So if we were to switch it to the default chart was set to candle or candle trend, then we may get different results.
Okay. Let's see. Previous bar
But it's
high
good to have
low
it in there.
should be 403 and 407. Nope, not correct. Should be 403 and 4.1. No. Well, it was a good try. I'm sure you can do it. You got to be able to do it. I'll figure it out. Or you'll figure it out. Who knows?
That teamwork.
Right? Teamwork to make the dream work.
I bet you
I
that's
really
the
want to.
starting point, though.
I want to fast forward right here, but I know that the stock. I was looking at Benzinga Pro. It starts spike at 840. I just want to kind of see if there's a squeeze there. So again, I would still consider this an uptrending stock. I would not consider this too choppy. This right here, definitely same type of choppiness as this. So I would say it's very choppy. So I would still consider this an uptrending stock. I don't know if it squeezes going into this. It might be a short squeeze. It makes a powerful move here in just a minute. 840 area. And I got to say, I know a lot of traders. I don't have the EMA line chart right, but I know a lot of traders that probably wouldn't be out of that original 180 position, or 220 position that you took off the news spike, or if you took that first squeeze, might not be out of that position at the moment, just because the EMA, a lot of people might use that as the sell point. On a spiker like, especially if you got in early at that $1.80, 220 area. I mean, you're nowhere near that right now. Not really worried about losing those profits at the moment with this consolidation. So I could easily see you still being in that position if you're using, not stop loss like I was using as an exit the previous candle or whatnot, but if you're using EMA, probably 21. I doubt it's dropped below the EMA. Line. Let's see. No, that's stuff.
Got to keep your mouse over the text box when you're typing, or it doesn't change.
So yeah, if you were using the EMA 21, you would have dropped out here. So you would have got out of your position in this consolidation range that we got going on. Let's see. If you were using EMA 24, I bet you if you were using VWAP as If you were using 34, you would have got out right here. And yeah, if you were using VWAP as your exit, you'd still be positioned. Almost got it. And I know several traders that use that as an exit point, especially when they get in early on a stock. If you're in really early on it, it's a lot easier to hold that position. But you got to be careful with the penny stocks. You know, got to look out for offerings. So, you know, you've had plenty of time, I would say, if you were holding this position, to go ahead and pull up Benzinga Pro, pull up the details screen, and comb over the stock, you know, top to bottom, and really know if an offering could drop possibly, or, you know, a lot more about this drug that they got going. Institutional ownership, all that kind of good stuff. Yeah, if I was going to do that, hold the position through all that, either that or I'd have my stop, you know, at a level I'm comfortable with. On that $1.80 position, probably be comfortable with exiting around the 330 area. Still a pretty good gain. And it'd have to crack significantly for you to exit. Even the $3 area, you're still looking at a really good gain. But then you're not playing the squeeze. I mean, you are playing the squeeze, but then you're also kind of playing the well at that point, hoping that it'll squeeze higher. So at this point, yeah, I would kind of say the stock is trending down. We're at 841, so it should spike. I don't see a squeeze here. We do have a 2-minute and a 3-minute squeeze going on. Well, can I switch to those? Can I just change the time without fucking shit up, Spaz? Do you know?
I don't know that. I'd hope you can.
I'm gonna just take a look at that squeeze, dude. Because when it's squeezing on that, I kind of want to look at the momentum on that. Okay, the momentum's down. The squeeze is 3 black dots now. It already squeezed once right here. Minute. Doing this. I want to see if this would be a play. And it did not matter. That's good. Three-minute going into a mid-compression squeeze right as I click to it. Momentum is up on that. Again, I'd be watching volume here. Your momentum is up. 3-bar squeeze there. Go back to that 2-minute time. Momentum is up as well on the 2-minute. Also went into a mid-compression squeeze. The 3-minute went back to a, I think it's flashing back. So at this point, yeah, you could, you know, you got a decent tick up here on this bar. You could start using that as an entry exit if you wanted to. So your height and icy there would be, well, that bar is still forming. Can't quite tell yet, but right now your entry would be at 434, which it just hit a minute ago. Your momentum's really up. You could definitely take an entry now. with the momentum up. The histogram's kind of low on the low, but it's trending up. It's in the yellow side, definitely on the yellow side on the chart itself. So you could take an entry now, or you could use my entry exit, which is what So I would be changing to this candle now. So this candle needs to break 435. 435 would be my entry. Momentum actually went down. Still up, but it went down. But you just saw a red arrow just flash really quickly on the screen as the momentum went below the zero line, and then it went away as the momentum ticked back up. We have not hit my buy quite yet of 435. We hit 433. Oh, pre-buffering. I'm going to pause it while it's pre-buffering. Fill up my vape. Been a long time to pre-buffer. What did you do, Seth?
I didn't do nothing.
Have you have my watch list columns? I haven't been paying attention to them. Have they been moving at all? I don't think so.
I haven't been
Well,
watching that close. I've
they
been
also
just kind of keeping an eye on the labels.
It would have been really cool if that was work. On demand. This is the first time I've used on demand, everybody, just so you know. Pretty cool feature, actually.
It's definitely built very well. There's a couple things that you would expect that it doesn't do, but
Yeah. I feel like it.
but for what it is, it's definitely done really well.
Yeah, I feel like it's okay. Pretty rough. Pause it here. I feel like it's really good for basically kind of doing. I mean, I already know my entry exit plan, but if you don't have an entry exit plan, this would be a good way to come up with your own. Is to take a ticker that spiked that you like the chart on, that night or whenever you have to. Well, you can't do it that night. I guess what is it, 2 days?
2 days, I believe. Yep.
2 days for the on-demand to show up, so you'd have to wait 2 days. So jot it down
T2
so you
time
don't
frame.
forget. Yeah, jot it down so you don't forget. Me and Spaz do that for our live stream. We have our own little jot down system, so we don't forget what to talk about. And do exactly what I'm doing. I mean, go over the play and come up with different entry and exit possibilities. And you're not going to see this exact same chart, but this type of play where my entry exit works all the time. You get stopped out a lot on choppy plays, and that's why you want to be in one that's not choppy. But it works really well for doing that. But you can come up with your own, and using the on-demand feature could be a great way to do that, because you can replay it over and over again. You can change the indicators, find different indicators that might work for you, et cetera, et cetera. So we're going to start this again here in just a second. Remember, my entry would be at 435, which it has not broke. We are watching the volume. We're in a mid-compression squeeze, only 2. So if you're using that TTM squeeze, the free one, it's technically not a squeeze that you would enter yet. You want a 3-bar squeeze before you take it and see what happens here. But me right now, I'm still happy with 435 entry at the moment. And basically because you've got these big, huge candles. You've got this big consolidation right here, and you've got these two nice candles under a squeeze. So the squeeze, this change to low compression keeps on flashing with that, from mid to low. So it may be firing off from mid to the low. It's now gone back to mid. It did take an entry, by the way. My 435 entry hit. So my exit would be the beginning of the squeeze, which is actually the bar before this. So my stop loss, my stop loss would be 395 currently. So I'm not looking at this bar that I entered on. I'm looking at the bar before that. That's when the squeeze, in my opinion, technically fired. It didn't as far as the actual indicators go. But yeah, you got an early entry indicator that popped up on this green circle right there. Early entry indicator. Momentum still up. Volume basically the same over the last 3 periods as this happens. So I'd be watching that volume bar that you see there for a quick climb upwards to know that this thing's really taken off. Remember, my entry is at 435. I'm still in. My exit, or not my exit, my stop loss is at 395. I could have changed it, but that squeeze has not fired. Once that squeeze goes green, I will start to change my stop loss to whatever the bar is previously. But right now, still under the squeeze, stop loss still going to be 395. And the reason that is because the squeeze was squeezing all the way through this area. So if it comes back down to that area, it's still going to be under the same squeeze. It's not going to exit that squeeze. But if it drops below 395, I'm not happy with the loss at that point. So I'm just going to cut it. If it then ends up firing the squeeze and fucking takes off, no FOMO. You know, I played my play and I used my entry. I used it. And, that's all there is to it. That early entry it still hasn't closed with that early entry, that green circle. But like I told you before, you know, none of those closed. Well, they did on the. We're looking at the 2-minute squeeze, by the way, right now. It never did squeeze on the still 2-minute, 3-minute only. But on the 1-minute squeeze, it did have those early entries right here. I do like those as opposed to down and up arrows that occasionally pop up. So it still hasn't fired yet, so I'm still looking at, 395 stop out. See how this plays out. My entry was 435, so I'm already up a little bit, not much. It's actually downtrending a little bit from the previous candle. You got another early entry right here as well. Remember that Robinhood opens 9 o'clock. Always something to keep in mind. Pretty sure this squeeze is going to fire before Robinhood opens. Yeah, I know a lot of traders out there, a lot of newer traders that will be watching that time and sales, like I was talking about before, watching those time and sales and looking at it and just getting scared out of the position, just because it starts to drop. You know, it was at 450 or 460 just a minute ago, and now it's down to 439. You know, my entry's 435. What if you wanted to take a profit? Oh man, I got to take a profit. You're getting scared out of your position. You know, I mean, it's something that you got to learn. You got to learn to basically, like I said, have a plan and stick to it. Find the plan that works for you, works for when you like to trade, works for what you like to trade, and how you like to trade. Work for your personality. I'm reading John Carter's book right now, Mastering the Trade, and that's one thing he talks about is that a trader needs to know their personality outside of trading to really be successful at trading.
He actually has a little section in the book. I'm sure you can find it online as well, but it's like 20 questions to help determine what type of personality you are, to where you can figure it's basically audio, visual, or kind of a combination. And that does play a lot into the type of trader you are. Especially after I just finished his book this weekend, and that's towards the end of the book. And once he goes through that, and after reading the book, yeah, you can definitely see where that will definitely be a big factor. If you don't know what type of trader you are, you're kind of hurting yourself.
Absolutely. All right, so technically, squeeze looks like it's about to fire. We're still in this bar, so it has not fired yet, but we do have a green dot. It just changed to black, like I said. This bar has not closed. That's one thing that I really like about this, and that's what I was talking about on the 4 a.m. plays with Spaz before, and I don't think we recorded it. I know there was somebody else in the chat with us, but we were talking about the 4 a.m. play on Works, which was back at the end of November, I think November 27th. But it was really, really cool how you could watch. I was actually watching the watch list column over here on the left. They change the same way those little dots, they'll change color as well. And so it was actually, as 4 a.m. played out, it was going in a single tick from green to low compression to mid compression, high compression to low compression, or to mid compression to low compression. Technically, that squeeze is firing. It squeezed all in a single tick. And there's so much volume right there on that stock, and so much that it squeezed in a single tick. And you wouldn't have caught it looking at your indicators after the fact. You would have only caught it real time, seeing that actually happen. Well, right now, this would have been a prime example of when I would say, if you didn't have an exit plan and you're on that 435 entry, it just dropped down to 430, you may have gotten scared out of your position. Who knows? Everybody's different. Now squeezing on the 4 minute, as you see here in the low compression, 2 minute, 3 minute, and 4 minute, still has not fired. It looks like maybe it will fire off at Robin. Which, if it does, beautiful. This would be exactly another time frame. So I love the squeeze at 4 a.m. I love the squeeze at 7 a.m. Not just because of news. This is a news spike, but just if you have just one that's been volatile and spiking already, good range, and it's squeezing going into the high volume area is what I mean. So I love the squeeze at 7 a.m. I love the squeeze at 9 a.m. and I love the squeeze at 9:30. Power hour, not as good, and then after hours is not even close to it. After hours is more news. Again, goes back to news spikers, and then you play the squeeze off of those spikers. So our squeeze looks to have fired off. You can see the momentum is really trending up there. It just changed back to black. So it fired off green at the start. Now it went back to but again, hasn't fired yet. I'll wait for that to close. The 3 minute, you can see these flashing up here on the watch list, or not the watch list column, the labels up there, flashing between red and black as well. So that 3 minute actually just went into a mid compression squeeze. on the spike. Well, I wouldn't call it a spike, but a momentum spike. The price has spiked a little bit. We're now up to 450. Feel a little bit better about your 435 point, just because your momentum, which if you call from my 435 point position, the momentum has not dropped down below the zero line since that point. I had only planned for this Chris thing to be about an hour, so I do apologize. I did not realize that it had another squeeze that showed a good example. I work every day, so I don't catch everything. I don't get to see them all. Work every day, and then kids when I get home. I tell you, you can see the volume, another big bar, and there you have it. The volume just really took off right there. I would say the squeeze is definitely probably about to fire at this point. We will see. Looks like it's going to, holding the green circle. It did in fact fire. What time is this? 8:54. So it looks like it's firing off a little bit before Robinhood starts here. Here we go. We're now 8:56. So I could have changed my stop here. So my stop would have been, if I stuck to the game plan, 440. So 440, I'm already making a profit with my stop. Remember, you had all these early entries here. If you didn't enter in here where I had entered, based off of what I was seeing on the chart, plenty of time off of these early entries, minimum up, even this last early entry. And if you wait for this confirmation candle, you could be still using the same exact setup. So your entry would have actually been at the high of this candle that it squeezed off on. So your entry would have been at 466, which it already hit. You don't have a stop. Your stop's going to be at your candle before that squeeze fired. So your stop would be at 429 if you had entered in on this particular candle right as the squeeze fired off, with the momentum way up. I mean, it looks great. I do already know what this happens to this stock, but had I not known, I'm just telling you right now, this looks great. This is a good looking squeeze to maybe enter in on. Got a nice uptrending stock here going into 9 o'clock. I really like that. Histogram actually changed to a dark blue right here. Might sell off a little bit before 9 o'clock. My stop would now be at 445. Oh, did I see that right? No, 446. Sorry. So that dark blue is changing back and forth as it decides what's happening here with the price. Still looking pretty good, I must say. I do have no idea as far as in this spike when we're going to stop out. That I'm not. Still looking pretty good. Momentum is looking really nice. Volume, last 3 ticks, really good volume. and we're about to hit Robinhood. I mean, this is just, I got to tell you, Spaz, this is a prime setup right here.
Yeah, it truly is a beautiful play. It's like, what was it? EVK back on the 13th. Not the 13th, the 3rd. Today's the 13th.
So now, yeah, now my stop has Robinhood opened. Still hasn't spiked quite how I would like with Robinhood open. But with Robinhood open, my stop would now be at 455. It did fire off on that 3-minute squeeze. If you look over here, the 4-minute squeeze is still under low compression, but it did fire off on the 3-minute squeeze. So that also gives you a little bit longer time to hold this. You're not just holding it for 7 bars, 5 bars, whatever. Just off of that. We might get stopped out early here.
Are you still on the 2-minute?
4. Yes, I am still on the 2-minute. Correct. Okay. That's a good point. You could switch it to the 1-minute. I'm not on the 1-minute. I'm kind of curious what it looks like, so I'm going to switch it real quick. So the 1-minute would have probably stopped out, right? If you were using. I'd stick to what you were using, though. I mean, if you're squeezing on the 2-minute, I'd stay with watching it 2 minutes. Just because as far as your entry and exit goes, you really need that same, kind of like a candlestick pattern. You really need that same, you can't go off of a candlestick pattern on a daily chart. You know, you do want to switch to the 1-minute, like you're not going to buy, but if your entry is off of the daily chart, say you were using the same method of an entry that I'm using here, and you're going off that previous candlestick's high daily chart, you enter there, your stop is at the low of that daily chart. You're not even worried, or the low of, if that was firing squeeze, stop is low of the previous daily. So you're not even worried about one at that point. You know what I mean?
At the same time, there may not even be a squeeze that had fired off on one of those other time frames. So switching to that isn't necessarily going to do you any good.
Yeah.
It's like switching your strategy mid-trade.
So at this point, it doesn't look like I'm going to catch this. Just knowing that, you know, how high it spiked. I might get stopped out before it happens. But, you know, from 435, 450, it's not a 10% gain, but still a gain if I do get stopped out. 465. I'm pretty close. And it's an inside candle. Could reverse here. Like I said, I really don't know. I know where it ends up, but I don't know how this plays. So it really did not take off. As far as Robinhood goes, this stock is not the one that they played. I can tell you that right. And volumes really dropped off once Robinhood.
Yeah, you always got to take in consideration there's that pullback into the market open, or I mean, it can go either way at market open, but I've seen so many trades that are up doing this similar action where you'll have that small pullback right before the open, and then right at the open it takes off. But that's where you just got to take in consideration your momentum, the volume, kind of going into that time period.
Now, this is a personal preference here. Me personally, I'm not changing my stop. Because of this candle, your stop would be at 469 as opposed to 465. Might not seem much of a difference. But when it consolidates like this, I just don't want to change it. I'm just going to stick to where it was at 465. Not really worried about changing. That's just my personal preference. If you want to stick to it, stick to the game plan, whatever the previous thing is, candle is, that's fine. But in this case, it's only 4. Yeah, I'm kind of interested to see where this goes. I mean, I know where it goes. I'm interested to see how it gets there.
Yeah, because you didn't get 2 from the get-go.
No. And you see what I mean, though, Spaz? Like, I mean, I'm sure it's because we're just looking at one ticker, but it seems like time is so much slower.
It does.
Than
It's
when
because
you're actually
it's the
playing
psychology.
the market. Yeah,
It's a
that's true.
psychology aspect, and that's the whole reason why anyone that's been in chat that's heard me talk before, I'm against paper trading.
Yeah,
For someone
yeah,
starting
so am I.
out,
Way against
someone
paper.
just starting out, I do not recommend it because the psychology aspect is complete different ballpark. So it's just, I'm glad I never went that route
Just got a new high
because
today.
it could have done a lot more damage, just overall to your overall trading.
Volume's really picking up now. This candlestick just started, and volume's already passed the previous. So set a new high day. It would have stopped out 466. Would it have stopped out? Nope. So my stop, as I said, was not changing. It would have been at 465. There it would have stopped out. So I would have stopped out of my position right here. I would not have caught this big, huge spike that's about to happen. This thing's about to go all the way to 7. Just, I don't know if it happened. Tick. I think it does. So yeah, that squeeze was not as good of a play. You still made a decent amount. The histogram here on the squeeze pro down at the bottom still fighting back and forth. So if you're using that as your exit, you still have exited. Same way if you're using VWAP, if you were sticking with VWAP the whole time as exit on your original position, you still have not exited well. And it seems to have ticked down a bit. I am thinking, Spaz, that it's actually going to squeeze again into open. So I'm going to go ahead and fast forward this 10 minutes, see what happens. Ah, it reversed.
Don't go
right there.
I was gonna say, don't go too far.
Yeah.
Into the open if you do.
Yeah, I was going to say it made a really nice reversal right after I clicked it. So as soon as I clicked that, it made a really nice reversal. So my stop of 465 may have been a bit high. Now I will say that if I had traded here, let's say, I'm not affected by the PVT rule, or I've got all 3 of my day trades, or I've got multiple accounts and I've got like 9 day trades or whatever. If I had traded here, this trade, and I traded this trade already, my stop probably wouldn't have been 465. Probably would have stayed at my entry maybe. Once it broke my entry, once the squeeze broke, just stuck it at 435 and just stayed right there at 435. just because I've already made money today, if this thing is gonna run, the momentum's still way up. No reason to technically exit other than my stop loss. But if I had already made, let's say I threw, 1,000 shares at the original position, probably what I would have thrown on this $1.80. If I had thrown 1,000 shares at that, I would have already been up on these two because I would have gotten back, taken this one for 3,000, probably another 1,000 shares at that price, $3 price.
Yeah, you're not a paper trader.
Shares, so no, I'm just saying, had I done that.
Well, I know you could have. I'm just laughing because it clearly shows that you don't paper trade because you could have simulated it this whole time.
Yeah, no, exactly. No, but that's what I mean. So had I done that, I'm already up, way up. I want to catch this run, so my stop I might not have had well, I probably would have had but I would have kept it at the 395, the original squeeze stop, or maybe my entry 435, so I'm not losing. But right now I'm way up. It just made a huge jump right there. So had I not changed my stop with the candlesticks like I had been doing previously, I would have been very happy with that decision in hindsight. So this is just something to think about, and that's something that every trader's got to make their own decision. How much they're willing to risk. There's traders out there that they're willing to risk everything. You know what I mean? Not because of the fact that the capital that they're putting in is meaningless to them. So they're willing to just throw it all. There's plenty of traders out there that'll just park their $100, $1,000 or whatever in some random penny stock or sub penny stock, just waiting for it to go up. You know what I mean?
My audio was cutting out.
So anyway, that was I would be sitting pretty if I chose not to change my stop with that position, just to leave it at my entry. Now that I'm up, at least leave it at my, instead of trying to take that profit. Now, if this was your first trade of the day and you were trying to trade this squeeze, you were like, oh, this thing's go at Robinhood, and this is your first trade of the day, I would have stopped out. I would have stuck to my guns and stuck to my exit plan. And well, sucks. At least I made 20 cents a share, or whatever it was, 435 to 460, 30 cents a share. So yeah, I mean you can't be too pissed about that, right? Gain's a gain, positive's a positive. So you live on,
especially if you're playing the play right.
The next trade. Yeah, you live on to make the next trade, and then that's it, man. If you're sticking to your strategy and you made a profit off that strategy, I don't care what the profit is. If you're sticking to your strategy and you made a profit, you made the play right. If you're sticking to your strategy and you made a loss, but you stuck to your strategy, you still made the play right. But that's a play that you might want to look back on and see what did I read wrong to, that this stock went the opposite direction I thought it. So, in this case, yeah, we're sitting good at the moment. I wouldn't even be looking at, because like I said, it just depends on where I'm at. If it didn't squeeze again, has it fired on all squeezing? Yeah, it looks like it's gonna, as soon as 9:30 hits, go ballistic. That's what it looked like to me, sir. So you can see the 2-minute squeeze was not a great squeeze here, and that's why you need to use those time frames. So that squeeze that we got on the 1 minute right here on this doesn't even show up on this. So you would have totally missed that squeeze, and that was a solid dollar gain on that particular squeeze that we played. The second squeeze. So that was a good game. Nothing to be mad about. But this is just an example of one play, though, man. I mean, there's so many plays like this that happen all the time. And if you're using these squeeze indicators on the movers, and that's the main thing when you're intraday trading. If you're swing trading, it doesn't have to necessarily be like one that's currently moving, huge moves, right? Swing trading, you could be going for, over 7 days, you could be going for that 20 or 30. It just depends. That's your decision on what your target is and how you want to trade and how much time you can devote to the market. Because if you're using the squeeze setup the same way on the longer time frames, the dailies and hour time frames and stuff like that, it's the same idea. So you can say, okay, I want to hold the stock for a day. Okay, well then you should be looking at the hour and 2 hour squeezes, because typically speaking, whenever it squeezes, you're going to hold it for about a day, 7 bars off of that hour. So that is what I'd be looking for. If you were going to try to hold a stock for a week, then you're going to want to be looking at the daily chart with the same idea that it's going to go 7 bars, so you're going to hold it for a week. And so it just depends on when you're able to trade, when you're able to put the time in and put the effort in, and how often you're able to watch the market. Obviously, if you're able to day trade, I really think that this is the best way to do it. Squeeze intraday trading. That is definitely, in my opinion, the best way. The histogram has changed on the chart, as we can see. Looks like it's going to be trending up here into 930. So yeah, I mean, really, those Spaz, I would say, other than my stop, using my stop method of the previous candle or whatever. Other than that, the chart looks really good to have stayed in the squeeze position this entire time.
Yeah.
Agreed. I mean, even on this dip down, it's still a good bit above the momentum. So at a point 2, 0.3, that's still a good bit above momentum, even on that dip down. So you could totally still be in this position. Technically, your squeeze has fired. It did fire on longer time period as well, the 3-minute and the 4-minute. So your 4-minute squeeze, that uh-oh, I broke it.
Yeah, you did.
Damn it, I didn't mean to break it. There it goes. So your 4-minute squeeze is now 5 bars in as well. If you were using this 4-minute squeeze, it actually happened after that dip when it fired. So if you were using the 4-minute squeeze to watch particular stock here. Really, any time during this would have been a great entry. Any time during this, because the momentum being so high up, you could have been, I'd say, feeling pretty good about an entry anytime during that squeeze. But if you wanted to wait for that green candle, you could do that. You use that entry method that I use. You would enter at 523, and you would not have stopped out yet, but you would be coming close. We're going into 9:30 open, pre-buffering. Your entry there, if you were using it after the squeeze fired, would be 523 on that particular squeeze. But you could have made an entry really at any point during the 4-minute squeeze. Really started the 4-minute squeeze, momentum up, going into Robinhood open. I would have been feeling pretty good about taking a position. Well,
yeah.
Now is a good time to talk about the plays that are coming up. As you can see, I have my watch list over here on the left. So we've got my usual top focus of NIMLY, MARK, and NGL. Also SCKT and S4. So I can tell you with SCKT, my entry, I've got an entry plan already. I'm actually hoping it's going to drop. Yeah, so it closed right at 360 Friday after hours, and it closed on a spike. It actually came out of a squeeze right before the close. So it could, I'm actually anticipating for it to continue squeezing up, continuing either firing off that squeeze or I'm actually hoping that it's going to have a drop in price really quick, which is going to cause it to squeeze again and then fire off, all in the same tick. Kind of like what I was talking about. So in the tick, as I watch it, it's going to squeeze, and then it's going to go green before the end of that tick, because I'm going to get an entry, or at least I'm hoping, at about 340, the 340 area. Let me actually, while this is flipping over, here, give you a Benzinga Pro look. This is what I'm looking at for socket. So you see this spike right at the end of the day. I'm thinking it's going to go below that spike right at 4 a.m. Ideally, my entry would actually be 330, right around right here, right where this support level. See how that bounced off that? That's my support level, 330. So that's where I'm hoping that that it'll drop to. But I'm ready to take a position 340 as well. And if it doesn't drop that low, I do anticipate a drop, causing the squeeze further and then rebound and squeeze up. I don't remember what time frames. It's squeezing on some other time frames, but I don't remember what they are off the top of my head. Well, I can actually see it right here. These column 17. So it's squeezing on the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 10 minute, 5 and 10 minute time frames right now. Low compression. So yeah, that's what I'm looking for to happen. Socket. That's my entry plan. If it don't happen that way, I might not take it. So if it continues if it immediately fires up, then it's continuing to fire off that squeeze already fired. 1 minute chart. I think it's on the that it's fired. And so I don't want a part of that. It's already fired too far. It's already like 3 or 4 bars. So I don't want any part of that. So I'll wait. But if it does what I think it's going to do and drop down to the 340 range, I will take an entry there in anticipation that it's going to bounce and squeeze up. Probably have my stop loss set pretty conservatively there. If I take it at 340, my stop's going to be at 330. I'm not taking much chance. Same thing if I take it at 330, my stop's going to be at 320. I'm not taking too much of a chance on it. Could immediately squeeze down, fire down on that 5 minute and that 10 minute squeeze. Momentum's kind of hard to play 4 a.m. You just kind of got to watch the volume. That's there's so much little volume across the board 4 a.m. that you can really just watch and tell really how much volume's coming in, and it dies off so fast. So by 4:05, 4:10, all the volume's gone as far as by comparison for you. So you're really looking at that 4 a.m. play. You're really looking at playing just that first 15 minutes, being out of the position by then. Occasionally, you'll get a real good runner. It'll run all the way till like 5 a.m. before it starts pulling back. But generally speaking, first 15 minutes and then the volume's so low that it could uptrend the rest of the pre-market, but it just won't run like it was before it. It'll pull back pretty heavy. Can't believe this shit's still pre-buffer. Well,
you try resuming and pausing it again? See if that'll help kind of boost it? How's that ninja cookie?
I didn't eat it.
Oh.
I mean, it's over
there.
It's a cashew. No, I'm not going to eat my kids' ninja cookies, man.
But she made the one for you. You're not going to eat it?
Oh, yeah, the fat one. Yeah, I will, yeah.
Oh, that's too funny.
But I don't want to eat it quite yet.
Right. I want to do a bunch of cookies tomorrow myself. My roommate can take some to his family. Find my morning squeeze set up.
Mm-hmm.
Then do some cookie baking in the afternoon.
Nice. Nice. Well, if it doesn't come out of this soon, I'm using this time to change my column. I'm not going to.
No, but just rename them.
This work. Oh, that is. Oh, look, now it's all loading. See what you did?
Well,
Fucked it all up.
You're in. I didn't expect you to do it right now while you're in on demand. You should have known.
You fucked it. You fucked it all up, dude. God. No, it's because it's pre-buffer. Once it's finished pre-buffer. frame. It'll actually load
Just
up.
now it's got more to load. Hold on, collect your garbage
You think
under
that's
the help
it?
tab.
Look
I
at
wonder if
this.
that'll.
There is no garbage. Look at that.
I can't see it. I see
Oh.
Bazinga.
You bastard. There's no garbage.
Oh, how about that? Look at that
Use
tiny little
memory.
tick way down there.
Used memory and free memory. Pretty high up there. So we'll collect.
Wow. That actually did
What?
something.
Huh?
Collecting garbage never frees up RAM like that for me.
Yeah. Oh, no. I freeze up all of it. I could do it over and over again, but it just doesn't do anything. It's still
Oh,
low.
I've had to sit there. There's been times, well, not in on demand, obviously, but I've had to sit there and just click, 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 click over and over, and finally,
Let's switch it back
with like
to
10, 12 clicks, it
1 minute.
just frees up this insane amount of memory.
Back to the 1
Sometimes it
minute.
doesn't.
Do that. Because it's right going into 9:30. Well, okay, we're going into 9:30. I'm just going to reset it. Then we'll click it on 8, which will put us at 9:30 at 8 a.m.
9:30 club.
Shut the fuck up. There we go.
Thanks,
There we
Google.
go. Now we'll go back to that 4-minute time frame we're using.
Jeez, Goose, why didn't you do that before?
I don't know, man. Oh, but it's not loading my studies. Pause it.
Oh, gotta pause it.
Load the studies. What are you doing here?
See how much better that looks? Now you actually know which column you're looking at.
I fucked it up. All right, so what we're gonna do? What we're gonna do now is we're gonna put it on 4 minutes.
This is
And we're gonna
why
reset this.
Mother Goose
Reset
does
this
not use paper trading.
We reset this thing. Go back to 8, and here we go. It just doesn't like this 4-minute time frame for some reason, man.
It just doesn't like you right now.
Apparently. There she blows. No.
Still buffering. It at least loaded the chart.
You bastard. You bastard. I'll press.
Section number 2 to cut.
Cut. Oh, man. I had it working.
This is exactly 15 minutes since the first cut.
Reset it again. Make it happen here.
Trying to snap my finger and make it work, but I think your video froze. Oh, no, it didn't. I need to get my soundboard working again so I can get the Jeopardy sound effect going right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no. Oh, well. It's just not meant to be. We'll go back to the 1 minute. See what happens.
Oh, your video did freeze again. The pre-buffering froze.
Okay.
Maybe Discord has something to do with it. Whoa, that was going fast. Like sped up. There you go.
Yeah, but that's
Oh,
not the right day. There we go. This is on the 1 minute. Oh, no, still pre-buffering.
Yeah, as soon as you changed the time frame, it went back to pre-buffering.
Well, no, I changed the day. What a bummer. Yeah, if I do this, it starts. No, that one just starts.
Are you sure?
Yeah, maybe not.
I bet you it has something to do with the columns. Because it's trying to load those as well.
No. That ain't it.
I hate those damn sensitivity. Oh, there you go.
There he goes. 1 minute. Well, we're on the 1 minute, not the 4 minute. It did squeeze for 1 bar. 1 minute.
Market open. Or, yeah, that is market open.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Not a bad volume jump. Not squeezing currently on anything. It looks like it's about to.
That momentum doesn't know what to do.
Mm-mm. No, it does not. The price doesn't.
I know, right?
It doesn't seem like the chart is keeping up with time and sales.
You need to add that last price line in that bid and ask study. Especially right there at market open. When I have that move, just seeing that flip back and forth, it's just like watching the level 2 to an extent. Well, more like level 1, I guess, but.
Well, the 4 minute loaded now. It's moving pretty good. Chart's still not updating. See the price is here, but I don't see a price bubble here.
Yeah, I don't see that either. It's not like it's buffering.
Yeah, weird. Unblame's fast.
Okay.
I'm gonna drink some scotch.
I'm gonna go find where I
Straight
sit down my
from the
vape
bottle.
pen. Best way to take a shot.
Oof. Woo. Rough.
There it is.
That was rough. Yeah, it's not updating, so.
Yeah, it's probably something to do with Thinkorswim then.
Yeah. That's all right.
But I'll take the blame.
That was a pretty good session. Change this one and get rid of that. Go back to the real deal now. I think people learned a lot in that, hopefully.
I think so. Now are you on your today view?
No.
Oh, no.
Mm.
Whoa.
Nope.
That was strange. It showed like the chart from
Oh,
on
yeah, I
demand
know.
for a split second.
At first it did, yeah.
I bet you go back to on demand now and it works.
Yeah. And so I like Socket, as I said, talked about it. Hoping it'll drop down to this 340 range. Right in here. 330 would be even better. Sometimes at 4 a.m., man, you'll get a really low price right at the open. Spike back up.
Those are ideal.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. TCRR, another mover after hours. Ref had some 5-minute squeeze. It was a mover through the day, not so much after hours. Cracks had a nice little move at the end of the after hours there. Well, in after hours, not really a bit. I had a decent little move up. Squeezing on multiple time frames. EQS has been a good mover, hasn't had a lot of volume. And when it does, it can sometimes be choppy like that, which I don't like for my particular entry exit method. It doesn't really work well for that kind of chart. You got to come up with a different risk. HJLI was a big mover on Friday. Looks like it could have a potential squeeze up. Veru has been a great range mover as of late as well. To be squeezing on 3 minutes and the 2-hour. UVLO, decent mover as well. Actually fired off on a squeeze on the 1 minute to the upside. Doesn't really show, but momentum wise. And still squeezing on the 2 minute. SLDB, another big mover and looks really good on the 20-minute, 15-minute high compression, 10-minute. I mean, it's just squeezing on so many. Not a lot of squeezes, as you can see, going 4 a.m. GLSI, really high price stock. Tons of range, easy temper. SNOA, another big mover, way down off of its highs, but as you can see, the momentum way down and just creeped up right at the end of the after hours. Looking for it to make a play. OTC, I like S4, pretty good. Chart looks good. Not squeezing technically on anything at the moment, but I just want to keep it on my watch list because as far as a potential squeeze, because of the way the chart looks. ALPP is kind of the same way. It's actually squeezing on 3 minute and 4 minute, but in RSCF, momentum shift right here pretty long squeeze, but got an early entry and a momentum shift. If this on the open, because this is an OTC, that ATR switches to the downside, well, switches to yellow dots, switches to the upside technically, then I might do that. NGL, you gotta do better for me, buddy. It was up around $3 Friday at one point. March too, man.
Mark has been sneaky lately.
Yeah, I got an exit plan to lock in some free shares at $1.75.
Nice.
Yeah, it hasn't quite hit yet. I haven't really paid attention to the news. You look at the news this weekend? I mean, other than SpaceX shit, but
yeah, I know that was that and vaccine news. That's all. That's kind of been what I've seen.
Yeah, I suppose that vaccine news is pretty big, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's going to
be
dictate a
good.
lot of how things are going to move.
Very good to not
It's
mention
all going
that.
to be healthcare stuff.
Yeah.
Sympathy plays.
I mean, that's a good point, though. The healthcare plays really could play out. You know, not necessarily COVID plays, but actual healthcare providers.
Yep.
What needs to happen is that Sharecare IPO needs to hit. Woo! In the billions. That would be nice.
That and a stimulus package.
Oh, that would be my stimulus package.
Well, I know, but we want that as well. Just because.
Sharecare decided to IPO, man, and it was in the 55, 100, 200 billion area, like a really big IPO. Yeah.
Right.
That would be key.
Is the heat chart working right now?
Mark stock would easily go up to probably $10.
Wouldn't that be something?
That'd be nice. I'd probably sell it way before that.
Yeah. Have at least some free shares, hopefully.
No, right now I've got pretty much my target at $4 for that stock. I've lowered my target significantly. Mainly just I don't think they're getting the footprint out that they really need to get out there. Like, I do think it could take off, that particular, that particular stock and technology. I just don't want to hold it for 3 years.
Yep.
So right now, I feel like it's worth $4. I feel like it's way undervalued, Mark, right now. Way undervalued.
Yeah.
And it's still got the shorts are still holding it down, dude. with that EPS on the earnings, if the shorts weren't so aggressive on Mark, it would easily be 250 right now. Yeah, it's worth more than that. I think it's worth $4 right now, but it's just so heavily shorted and all that. No, it's just getting started, my friend. You see this daily chart?
Oh yeah.
I told you after the earnings. I think it was JD was in here too. Told both of you that EPS being a positive, 4 cents earnings per share, a lot bigger than people think.
Right. I think I found my old scanner. For my low swing entry based off squeeze setups. APWC, INM, and CTEC. Kind of lower volume tickers, but
But no, if Mark got to $4, I'd probably exit my position because I feel like it would probably go down a little bit, and I'd be able to get in lower.
yeah.
Go ahead and lock in all those profits. Could lock in free shares, and that's something I could do on my lower lot, $1.20 something lot, share lots. Keep all those as free. That way I keep the average down.
Best way to do it. Just seen messages that have come through. What's XPO doing? I haven't looked at that since middle of last week. Oh, yep. Finally broke 120. Oh, so last time I looked at it is, I had a nice pullback and not necessarily a squeeze, but Yep.
Well, I gotta go to bed.
Any the hay
Mhm.
too.
Yeah,
CBS in talks to bring Star Trek series to Netflix.
nice. All right, I'll catch you tomorrow.
Cool.
All right,
Have a good
later.
night.